you very much. So thank you all for your attendance today for this webinar. This webinar will be recorded, and you will have the ability to, you will get the link from the recording afterwards. You will be able as well, and do not hesitate to ask questions during the webinar with the Q&R of Zoom, and we'll answer those questions as we go, and there will be some time at the end of the webinar for question and answers with Alexandre. Alexandre, thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Resiliency is a word that we hear more and more in the supply chain arena, but very often it's on a theoretical view of how to build resiliency. And when I was first exposed to your presentation, Alexandre, it was quite impressive because many companies talk about resiliency, but only a few companies are taking actual steps to make this happen. And in your environment, you will describe a little bit Macopharma. Resiliency and business continuity can be a question of life and death for patients eventually. So that's a very, very important topic. And you've been working on improving the resiliency of your supply chain for several years. So it will be very interesting, I think, for everybody to hear your story. Alexandre, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. So I'm Alexandre Mouroz. I'm the supply chain director for Macopharma. Just before starting to introduce Macopharma, I will thank a lot Bernard and the rest of the DDTech team to invite Macopharma to present how Macopharma build a more resilient supply chain, and moreover, what does it mean to manage the risk in our environment of the medical device and pharmaceutical environment. So thank you very much. I'm very delighted to explain and to share with all of you what we did, and I hope it will be very interesting for you, and do not hesitate to ask and to raise hands to ask any questions. So we build a very short agenda. We are going to introduce several points during 30 minutes, and then we are going to have a Q&A sessions. So maybe most of you do not know what Macopharma is doing. So Macopharma is doing the blood transfusion. So we are manufacturing what we call kits. So we are manufacturing product to collect and transfuse the blood. So we are having product for blood collections, blood processing, and blood safety. We are having historically two divisions which have been merged during the last summer in only one division, which is called now the blood processing solutions. But historically we have product for the transfusion and product for biotherapy products. So we are expert in blood component filtration and leukocyte reduction. So if you do give your blood, and if you're a donor, you have a chance to have given your blood with Macopharma product. So the key figures of Macopharma. Macopharma is a company, French-based company with more than 2,000 employees. So we have 3 production sites, one in France, one in Poland, and one in Tunisia. We are having subsidiaries in more than 20 countries. We have the turnover in 2021 of 163 million euro, and we are delivering goods all over the world, because we are now delivering in more than 100 countries all over the world. The volume is produced was in 2021 around 18 million. So just to give you an idea of the situation of Macopharma, worldwide, the donations of blood are on yearly based 130 million of donations. So Macopharma is doing right now between 18 to 20 million of product to do the blood donations. So we are one of the biggest manufacturer of transfusion blood donation bags. We have several certification, and one of this certification will be one of the most important for the today discussion and the today presentation. It will be the ISO 22301, which is Security and Resilience Business Continuity Management. So this is a very important certification, and I will explain you why. Macopharma is very important to understand that Macopharma has 18 subsidiaries, 50 distributors in its network, 3 production sites, and we have also a network of more than roughly 25 warehouses all over the world. When Bernard asked me to do this presentation today, I was asking myself, but what resilience means? What does it mean? Because it's a very fashionable word. It's a word that we are listening every day for many, many things. And when we are speaking about resilience, I try to find in Wikipedia what does it mean, resilience? Resilience is a concept, and it can be defined as the ability to maintain production close to its potential despite a shock. And this implies that economic agents must anticipate the danger before being affected by it. And everything is in this sentence. We must anticipate the danger before being affected by it. So what does it mean for Macopharma? Macopharma decided to have a very specific focus on this resiliency because one of the biggest customers from the Anglo-Saxon world decided in 2014 to switch from double or triple sourcing of supply to only one single sourcing supply. And when we won some tenders regarding single sourcing, we were wondering ourselves, what do we have to do to maintain the delivery to our customer while being single sourcing supplier? And this is why we start to rethink completely what Macopharma has to do and how Macopharma has to be prepared to deliver the customer without interruption, because we are the only one to deliver the goods. So managing a business continuity was a key axis for our strategy. Finally, in 2015, we decided to put in place some main actions and a very, very important roadmap for Macopharma, because all this roadmap has structured completely the company for the next 10 years. So what does it mean? We have created a structure to support the deployment of the business continuity management, and we did it according to ISO 22301. Everyone has been trained in the company on the business continuity system, and the role of each one have been explained from the operators to the CEO. Very important, and I will come back on it later on. And this is something that has been one of the most important things that Maco did. We have tested all the processes on real or simulated exercise. I will come back on it. It's a very important topic. And then finally, we've been certified in 2018. So it took 3 years to Macopharma to obtain the certification and to really prepare the business continuity management system. What is very key for us, it is that this is not a supply chain, this is not purchasing, this is not manufacturing, which is doing business continuity and which is focused on resilience. This is a corporate approach. This is not only supply chain, this is everyone. So we do have a continuity policy. This has been deployed in the complete group. We have implemented a management system. We follow the ISO. And what is very important to do, we have decided also to have a manager dedicated on this activity of continuity of activity. And we have also created teams of internal auditors. We do have one, sorry, it's in French, but we do have one director of business continuity. So this person, we have dedicated this person to this job, and this person has been trained and certified himself as a business continuity manager. So the job of this person was to be trained to develop the business continuity management into the company. So then we have created a risk register book in order to have a list of all the multi-service risks that we could have in the company. So this is all the risk related to production, supply chain, quality, the chemicals, the solution preparation. Everything has been registered, and we try to think at all the risk that we could have at a corporate level. And then finally, this corporate register has been deployed in our 3 production plants, because the main risks are coming from, of course, the production. And this is how can we continue to deliver our customer without having any risk in our plant. The first point has to do a business impact analysis. So what does it mean in business impact analysis? It means to calculate and to estimate the potential impact from the financial point of view, customer delivery point of view. What is very important for Maco, this is the patient health. Why? Because we are having products in contact with patients which are giving the blood, and afterward, this blood can go directly into the hospital for transfusion, directly to a patient which are having very, very important disease. So we have to be always focused on the patient health and what can we do to protect the patient at the end. We have, of course, regulatory and legal constraints, and we could have also brand image and social impact. When you have done the business impact analysis, we have a risk analysis, and there we are looking at the strategical risk, operational, governance, and compliance risk. What is very important for you to understand in our medical device and pharmaceutical market and environment, we have to be compliant with many different topics, and we have the GMPs, the GDPs, we have different local authorities which are having different point of view and different constraints. So the risk is that we have to be compliant with every authority's needs, every authority's constraint, and every law, let's say. Then once we have done this risk analysis, we deployed a site risk register, as I explained you just before, and we are going to list all the issues related to supply chain, manufacturing, maintenance, HSE, IT, and so on. And what is very important to do, we do have action plan to reduce this residual criticality at what we can call an acceptable level. What does it mean? It means that when we decide to stop all the actions, when we are sure that everything we put in place has reduced the risk as the maximum. And then with our business continuity director, we are doing monthly review at corporate sites and site level. So this is very important that we have to close the loop on a very periodical review. So it means every month or every quarter, you have to do the action plan review, and you have to keep the focus on these actions. And we have to be sure that if we close an action, we are sure that everything is put in place to cover the risk. Of course, we are using some very simple tool where we are looking at the impact level, which can be catastrophic, high, moderate, and so on, and the probability that this problem occur. Then we have to several probability level. If you are in red, if you are in yellow, it means that you're not ready to cover the risk. So you have to put actions in place to become red from orange, orange from green. I put you here one example of a plant register risk for the supply chain. So we have the reference. So which type of risk do we have? We have the description of the risk, we have the cause of the risk, and we have the consequence of the risk. Then we are calculating the risk score. We do have some control in place. What does it mean? It means that, for example, for the line where you do have the risk score at 15, we have some actions and some things to reduce the risk of fire in the warehouse. So this is specific sprinklers, firewalls, and so on. So we reduce the risk at 10, and then 10 is not enough. This is not acceptable enough. So we have a risk treatment plan, and then we decided to go for external warehouse and to separate in two cells the raw material, for instance. Okay, so it means that finally we reduce the risk at 3. It means that by doing fire protection, sprinkler protection, firewall separation, and to have our raw material separate in 2 rooms, then we have divided the risk by 3 or by 5 even. Okay, so everything from all the activities in the plant, everybody has a plan. Every manager of the different departments are responsible to feel and to reduce the risk as much as possible to become green. And we have the target to be to reduce as much as possible all the risks. So a plant risk register followed, updated on a regular basis is the key to start and to implement the business continuity risk management. If you want to have the best advice from Macopharma, the best advice from Macopharma is to do tests. Not only test on table, but to do live exercises. And above all, we have to finish all the exercises with lesson learned. This is necessary and essential. I will give you one example. I did receive in 2017 a phone call from my CEO saying, Alexandre, we have an issue in Tunisia. The plant in Tunisia is blocked. We cannot export any single thing. We are putting in place a crisis management meeting. Please come to the room. Then in the room, we had manufacturing, purchasing, supply chain, quality, legal, everybody which is part of the crisis management list. So we have a list of people and every people knows what to do. So it means that we had a list prepared in advance, what supply chain has to do, what purchasing has to do, what manufacturing has to do, and so on. And the target of this exercise was to say, okay, our Tunisian site is blocked. We have to transfer and to cover our main customer in a very short period of time, and we need to do everything in Poland. So the target was to move production from Tunisia to Poland in a very short period of time. So we had to organize the flow of product. We had to hire people. We hired people in Poland and in France just for the exercise. This exercise took 2 months. I can tell you that after this exercise, we did the lesson learned. And the lesson learned showed that the plan and the registry risk that we had in place is not enough because we forgot to think about this topic. We had to think about another one. So we did live exercise during 2 months. It cost money, but at the end, we solved a lot of issues and we felt much more ready for the rest. So we based on very realistic scenarios. So for example, we can say that we have no more ERP system during 5 days. We have to do everything manually into the plant. So how long can we manage the plant with manual process? So it means everything must be written on paper. So we forced our people to do the exercise, to do everything with ERP, but everything manually. And we tried to figure out what is missing to manage the plant as long as possible with manual and paper. So we look at also what do we have to do if we have a transport strike in France? what do we have to do if there is global weather problem in Europe or wherever in the world on the road network. We did, and this is serious, we did exercise before the pandemic on a very specific point. We do have a very specific flu, and the responsible pharmacists are not available during 2 weeks. What do we have to do? Who do we have to train to take the decision to release the product and so on? We lost a key supplier. We have geopolitical problem. We have IT problem. We have human resources problem, and we have manufacturing problem. All this, we were living this in live all together during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we were very, how can I say that? We were faced to a new problem, which was COVID, with frontier blocked, supplier without capacity, issue to deliver from one country to another, and so on and so on. And finally, if you look at my screen, you have, we were looking at all those problems in advance, and we had, for every situation, we had a list of risk and the list of actions to reduce the risk. Each scenario is reviewed, and each scenario and each lesson learned are validated. So, to success in implementing a good business continuity management system, you have to have a governance. You need to have specific key position dedicated to that in order to create this management system and to create the how can I say that, to create the willingness of people to work and to work for the business continuity and for the final patients. You have to do exercise, you have to do many things. And the key word is also you have to train your people. Every people is trained at Macopharma. And for instance, if you are joining next Monday, you are joining Macopharma, during the onboarding process, there is 3 hours of onboarding process. And during the 3 hours, you have 1 hour dedicated to business continuity and the risk management at Macopharma. And moreover, we are trying to improve ourselves every time. So we have 12 certified internal auditors, and I am representing the supply chain. And we are doing every year more than 14 to 15 cross-audit, cross-department audit with action plan and improvement plan to improve our system. So it's very regular. And since 2015, we are doing this and we are keep improving. Finally, we've been certified. We have a status of pioneer because we are the first manufacturer in the medical device sector in Europe to be certified. We are the only one, even now, we are still the only one to be certified. So we have a pioneer status. And it's very important because as Macopharma is working on the tender with single providers, we are having a competitive advantage because we are able to show to our customer that we are having a management system in place. All the customer give a positive feedback of the way Macopharma managed the pandemic of COVID. We had no disruptions in delivery during this period. But being resilient, it means to have a good structure, a good business continuity management system in place, a good risk management. But what does it mean in terms of planifications, in terms of stock management, in terms of priority? When you have, like we had during the pandemic, alerts for every product, what do we have to produce first? Here you have one example of one transfusion kit, transfusion product. You have bags, you have filters, you have needles, you have many different components. And as you can see in the same kit, this can be assembled maybe in Macopharma in Poland, but with bags from France, with needles from an external supplier, with collection line from Tunisia, with foil from an external supplier, and so on and so on. So we had to figure out, and we had to improve also our flow and stock management to be more and more resilient and to anticipate the risk. We decided to implement DDMRP. we decided to implement DDMRP for many reasons. And we decided to work with demand-driven technologies. We start in 18 months. So I remember very well with Bernard, we had the first meeting live. The first training with Bernard was the 7th of March or the 6th of March, 2020. And the 17th of March, the French president has said, we are in lockdown, you must stay at home. And we did from the 17th of March until the live June 21st, June 21 on the 21st of June, we did everything remote. So it means it was a very hard work from all the team. Why do we want to have the Hercules and demand-driven tool? This is to have the benefit from the tool is to have a visual tool to improve our work and to improve our way to manage the alerts. We had at Macopharma a lack of agility and flexibility because we are having the result of the business continuity. The result of the business continuity, it is that we have much more constraints because we decided to have the same production in Poland, in Tunisia, to produce the same semi-finished good in France and Poland and so on. So it was starting to be complicated to manage and to address the flow. Our traditional ERP system was very no flexible at all. We had a lot of Excel files. We were having in mind to reduce the variability. And of course, we wanted to give more autonomy to the site to do their own planning and to deliver the goods directly from the manufacturing sites. So we had to review completely our flow and to review our buffers, and we decided to look at how to have a permanent availability of component and semi-finished product, because our main variations and our main issue are on component and semi-finished product. What does it mean semi-finished? For a kit, you have here one example: the bags, the needles, the filters. These are semi-finished product, and this kind of bags or product can be found in many different references. But we need to manage the flow and to have a dynamic stock management. So we draw for every type of product, we draw the list. Oops, sorry. Where do we want to have stock? What is the lead time? Where do we want to have a buffer stock? Where do we not want to have buffer stock, and so on and so on. Then finally, we put in place DDMRP in Maco, and we are now able to manage with the relative priority alerts. So every people from my team, every scheduler, every person from planning, when they start the day, they plug the Hercules system and they have immediately the result at the beginning of the day. Where are my alerts? Where do I have issue? Where do I have risk? And then we are able to anticipate the risk and to better improve our flow management. So finally, what did we achieve during this crisis period? You can see that beginning of January, we had a very poor on-time delivery from our warehouse to the customer, and step by step we did improve the situation. And we put in place Hercules, and Hercules starts to stabilize the on-time delivery from Maco to the customers. We had, with the implementation of DDMRP, we had a complete reorganization of flows, and now we are much more flexible, and we do feel much more comfortable to anticipate some changes and some reorganization of flow, because as I explained you, with our business continuity, we must be able to to switch from one plant to another, any kind of production. And it means that with this, we must be very proactive and reactive with the suppliers, with the internal production, internal planning, internal transportation flow, and so on. Despite the pandemic, we improve our performance. And since we implement R+, we have improved and maintained the delivery to the customer, but we have also improved very much the way we are communicating with our supplier, for instance, because we have a better view of the variation of the risk, and we are able to better anticipate issue with our suppliers. No customer disruption. So this is due to business continuity, but this is due also to the fact that our supply chain is now equipped to anticipate risk and to be much more reactive. And of course, I wanted to thank all my Macopharma supply chain teams, which were working as hell during the last period. And I can tell you that implementing a new system 100% remote is a kind of challenge that you cannot imagine. Okay, I think I kept the 30-minute presentation, Bernard. So
thank you very much.
I think we keep the target to do it in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I hope I was not too fast. I hope I was clear. I hope it was interesting for all of you to have this kind of explanation example of what did we do. And if you have any question, please do not hesitate.
There are questions for you, Alexandre. First, thank you very much for this presentation. And let me ask you the first question from Alexander, who's been, by the way, helping in Poland. How did implementing the new DDMRP processes and new IT technology, how did it affect your business continuity planning? Are you testing new particular scenarios based on this new setup with DDMRP, buffers, new IT systems, etc.?
What are we planning to do currently? We are, when we did the review of all the flow, and when we start to implement and to put in place all the buffers to decide where do we want to have buffers, I don't want to say that we discovered, but we rediscover that our business continuity has created some double buffers, double stock, double flow, double movement, and so on. So we have decided that we want to simplify our flow and to rework and to rethink the industrial layout according to the flow. So which is brand new. Because before we were doing the industrial layout according to business continuity, when you need to have two machines, one in France, one in Poland to cover the needs. Now we are starting to think a little bit more flow. So we are more oriented to the flow and where do we need really to have the buffers. So I think it's very interesting that we start with this kind of tool to force ourselves to ask ourselves, what finally do we have to do to go and to have a smoother flow? I hope I did answer to your question, Alexander. But by the way, thank you very much for your help during the implementation in Poland. It was very helpful.
Question from Patrick. First of all, a remark from Patrick. Amazing amount of work went into this, and clearly it worked during COVID. Were you able to calculate cost benefit of doing this huge resilience preparation process so other companies can justify this type of investment? How do you justify the payback for this investment?
How do we justify the payback? We justify the payback with the fact that we are having a competitive advantage front of our competitors, because this is something that we are able to prove that we have in place a system which is able to to reduce the risk and to mitigate the risk as much as possible to do not stop the flow of delivery. And financially, it's very difficult to explain, but since we put in place this business continuity, we have increased our turnover, and we won new tenders and new customers, which were attracted by the fact that we were able to be the single source supplier without interruptions. And I think this is key. This is to be able to show to the customer that we are able to help them to deliver the goods. I don't know if I did finally answer to your question, but we didn't do a kind of financial return, but we won new customer.
Thank you very much for this answer. Not really a question, but Alexander Okraska is praising you for all this work as a blood donator with over 18 liters of donated blood. So he praises you for this effort to make sure this blood goes to the right place at the right time for patients. Just a word from Nicole, our marketing manager. She's just insisting on the fact that R+ is an obsolete product, and now you should go to Intuiflow.
Yes, sorry, but we plan to switch in Q1. We plan to switch in Q1 2023 on Intuiflow, of course. Sorry, Bernard. I will use the right word from next year. You know that we have to do the update.
Thank you very much again, Alexandre. And I remember the first time we met, I believe, in your facility, north of France. You started drawing the flows of Macopharma, and after 5 minutes, it was a spaghetti chart. So bringing clarity throughout this situation was really key, and I hope all the approach went well from that standpoint. If there is any other question, please jump in. I think there is a new one. How do you help mitigate risk for ocean freight? Because you're distributing all over the world, to Australia, etc., and bulky products. So you have maritime containers, right?
Yes, we do use sea freight containers for everything, which is of course in Americas or in Oceania, and it's very difficult currently to mitigate the ocean freight disruptions, and the only solution we put in place is to increase some safety stock in very specific country where we have seen that the risk of disruption was the highest. I know it's not very good from the financial point of view to increase the stock, but we decided to not increase the stock everywhere, but to put in place buffers, and also we mitigate the risk in our DDMRP system because we are managing the flow with the lead time. So it means that when the lead time is changing, when we have longer lead time and so on, we are also changing it into the system, and then the production is anticipated in advance with all the risk and all the length of the supply chain. So it means that the system helps us to be focused on the right product to deliver the right stock. But we had, unfortunately, to increase a little bit some safety and strategical stock.
Okay. Another question from Alexander. Are you using any dedicated IT application for business continuity risk tracking, sharing, and collaboration, or is that based on Excel or any internal data?
This is based on Excel. We were thinking to use some IT tools or whatsoever, but finally we decided to keep Excel as the base. And the most important is not really the tool, is the way we are managing the information, because as I explained just before, we really put in place a very, very clear structure of who is doing what, who has the responsibility to fill the document, to answer questions, and so on. So it's the tool was not really a blocking point. So we decided to keep Excel and to reinforce the people, the way we are going to structure the management system.
Thank you very much for this answer. And I heard you say, Alexandre, that you increased safety stock, but I don't think that's the case. You increased maybe red zones of some buffers. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. We translate in R plus. Sorry, yeah, it's still R plus at Maco. So we translate in R plus the risk into red zone effectively.
And including some contractual obligations.
We do have some contractual obligations, yes.
Excellent. I don't think we have any other pending questions. So really, again, thank you very much, Alexandre, for this testimony.
You're welcome.
And all attendees, you will be able to access the recording afterwards. Last question. What is your forecasting process, Alexandre? Last, before you leave.
Forecasting process. So we are thinking to improve our forecasting process. Currently, the forecasting process is very, very simple. We are collecting during the demand review. We are collecting the forecast from all the sales area, and we are only putting this information into our ERP, and then we are treating directly from the ERP the forecasting. So the forecasting is something that we want to improve and we want to work on. But today it's very, very simple. Collections of data, and we key into the ERP system, and then we do analysis with Excel sheet. So only this.
And in fact, it's interesting, if I may, that you were considering looking into forecasting software and forecasting solutions only after implementing robust replenishment processes and flow management. And if I may, this is probably the way to go. Too many companies are jumping into forecasting first, without really sanitizing their flows and simplifying the flows and setting the buffers properly in the right place, etc. So I think you did it in the right way, Alexandre.
Thank you.
Possibly you now consider adding some forecasting capabilities, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you very much again.
I think there is some
question. Have a nice day. Sorry, other questions? Plenty of other questions in the meantime. Do you still have time, Alexandre?
I have time, always.
All right, okay. Are you using machine learning for forecasting? You're not,
no.
Right?
The answer is no, not for the moment.
How do you see the trend of freight in the first half of 2023 and second half?
For 2023, when we built our budget with my transport team, we saw that we are now in a kind of plateau for some destination, and for some flow, we start to see a decrease. So we are thinking that from some destination, we will remain during semester one at the same rate that we are having right now, and we plan to have a start of decrease by the second half of 2023. But for the moment, it's really too early to assess. But definitely, we are thinking that we are reaching a plateau.
Excellent. All right. So I think we'll stop here. Again, thank you all, and have a nice day or balance of the day, depending on where you stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.